Good evening and welcome to the September 26th meeting of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission. Will you please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Zelnis, will you please read the mission statement?
Yes. The mission of the Human Rights Commission of Palm Springs is to promote improved human relations, civic peace, intergroup understanding, and the full acceptance, respect, and participation of all persons in all aspects of community life so that we will be equal in the eyes of each other.
Thank you very much. We do not have staff tonight, so I've asked our Vice Chair to read the roll call.
Okay. Jim Janis.
Here.
Charles Boyd. Paul John Yo.
Here.
Dorothy Bowens.
Here.
Bill Feingold's here. Sylvia Zelnis.
Here?
Dean Stephen Kaufman.
Here.
Joseph Aguano.
Here.
Mike McCullough.
And Mike McCullough has an excused absence. He is sick tonight, so thank you very much. And I have been informed that the agenda was posted in accordance with the Brown Act, and so we move next to the approval of the minutes of September the 12th. Have you all received those?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Zelnis, seconded by Commissioner Bowen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very, very much. Public. Oh, yes. Paul abstains because he was not here at that meeting. Are there any public comments tonight? It's nice to have some public, but
Welcome,
but
public.
you're very welcome, and we hope that there are people out there watching us on TV. And if you do have any public comments ever for this commission, please do come down and join us at one of our meetings. We would love to see you here in person. We do not have a public speaker tonight, so we will move right into reports. My written report is in front of you. The one thing I want to bring to your attention is that Commissioner Bowens and I had the chance of going to the meeting given by the city attorney and city clerk on our duties as commissioners, and we picked up extra copies of material, so you all have that put in one location for your information. And the other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is that in my packet are copies of the hard copies of two things we'll be discussing tonight, one being the Innocence Protection Act and also the transmittal letter to the mayor of our work on the zero tolerance for drug use. And those are both in your packets. Final copies are there. I have a final copy of the letter because I had one change after doing that at midnight, and we'll talk about that later. I direct your attention to my personal comment. I'll have you read that so you know what I'm doing. I've had the opportunity to sell my home very easily, and I'm very excited about making some changes for the future and wanted to make sure you're all aware of that. So that is, I do have one thing I'd need to say, and that is the Registrar of Voters for Riverside County needs additional poll workers for the November election. And if anyone is interested in doing so, the number is now on the screen. Call Kathy at 1-800-773-8683. Again, if you would like to work as a poll worker in the November election, there is, I'm not sure how much, but there's a small stipend attached to that. I'm going to be one of the people who We'll be working the polls. I'll be working here at City Hall. I'm looking forward to it. It's something I have wanted to do for some time, and I think it should be a very interesting experience. And I urge anyone in our audience or anyone around the table who is able to do so to please call Kathy at the number posted. So thank you very much, and thank you, Rick, for putting that up. That's the end of my report. We'll go to the Vice Chair. I think you have a very interesting report for us. You're not, somewhat?
Yes, I'm going to speak about the Hate Crimes Task Force that we just had. We had our first meeting on Tuesday, and it was well attended. We had about 17 people show up, and this is just going to be the beginning. We started from scratch. We discussed a lot of topics. One of the topics we discussed was having a dinner in memory of Matthew Shepard that Robert Farrell is going to sponsor, and we're going to bring that up at another time. We're working on that. I got a really lovely, first I want to thank Commander Rodriguez for coming to the meeting and Commissioner McCullough for coming to the meeting. Their attendance was great. So with the microphone. I got this email today from another lady. I want to thank Linda Holmes, and I'm going to read to her. She really put into 3 sentences what we discussed and what we came up with. And this is part of a letter that she wrote to the Desert Sun today. She said, the Hate Crimes Task Force has established 3 goals at this time. 1, educate the public about what a hate crime is and how to report it. 2, improve the relationship between the police department and the gay community. And 3, improve the relationship between the Desert Sun and the gay community. And I think we came away feeling very good after the meeting, that we're going to get things done. This pamphlet, I'm going to have to find out how many of these we have, because we're considering passing them out at the bars and some other organizations. Because unfortunately, hate crimes is in the news because there's a lot of problem in West Hollywood right now. And we're trying to get the Desert Sun. I spoke to the Desert Post Weekly today. I spoke with the head of the anti-violence group in Los Angeles, with the Gay and Lesbian Center. So for the first week, I thought we got off to a great start. Our next meeting is October 22nd, and I'll be reporting on that. And I've sent all the TV stations the information, the radio stations, and all the papers, hoping to get more people to come.
Very, very good. We're off to a good start that way, and I'm happy to hear that there was a positive letter in the paper. Moving along to our Mediation Committee Chair, Commissioner Janis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to be back, to see all of your smiling faces. Many good things must have been happening. As far as the Human Rights Commission Mediation Committee, I would like to announce that I did attend what's called a transformative mediation training. I don't know if you mentioned that at the last meeting. And it took place at it's part of the Institute for Study of Conflict Transformations Incorporated, and we had an excellent speaker there who talked about various aspects of experiencing conflict, and he provided us with excellent material that would be good training material for members of my committee. And it was conducted at UCR. It started at 8 o'clock and ended at 5 o'clock, so it was a pretty stressful session. But it included lunch. The other thing that I noticed when I returned, there was a complaint discrimination form that I have before me. I don't plan to reveal that on the air. But it is very complex, and it's something that is a repeat. I don't recognize. Is this a new one?
As far as I know, it's a new one, yes.
It is. It's very complex, and I think it should take a little study. The type of font that was used here could be stretched out to about 4 pages. And I would like to get together with you, Dean, and Paul, and Sly, so we could attack the complaint. I received the packet for the Southern California Mediation Association. It's very complete. It gives a listing of all of the organizations that belong to it and an agenda or calendar of events that will take place in the future. Most of the roundtable discussions take place in Los Angeles, so I don't know how we're going to handle that. The other thing is, you probably received, there. I received a letter from Judy Brennan, Dispute Resolution Services, and she was advising me of a desert roundtable of the SCMA that took place September 18th. Now, I was not able to attend, but I did receive your email informing me of this meeting taking place. But she assured me she'd contact me for the one in October. Nothing else to report. That's my report for the Mediation Committee.
Thank you very much. We are new members of the Southern California Mediation Association, and unfortunately, their first meeting coincided with the meeting with the city attorney on the obligations of commissioners, and also the night of the Hate Crime Task Force, so I was not able to attend that meeting either, but we do look forward to that in October, and we'll get together and discuss the complaint later. Okay. Moving along then, Community Relations Chair.
Actually, we have an agenda item that will go into length in discussion. The only element that I could comment on separate from that in terms of community relations is my usual reminder of third Sunday of the month is the PFLAG meeting, Parents and Friends of Lesbians, Gays, Transgendered, and Bisexual Persons, at the Cathedral City Public Library at 2:30 in the afternoon, third Sunday of the month.
Thank you very much. Well, I think you've already given the report. It's down here for the Hate Crimes Task Force Chair, but that report's been given by you as Vice Chair, so you skipped ahead on that. Education Forum Committee Chair.
Thank you. An issue was brought up before the Police Advisory Committee last week.
Do you have your mark on?
I don't, so thank you. An issue was brought up before the Police Advisory Committee last week, and whatever the Advisory Committee decides to do, it was something that appeared to me to be appropriate for the Human Rights Commission. And this was from a vocal group. It was a large representation of people. Some of them are from the American Civil Liberties Union, the Desert Pass chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union, and they have a concern about INCAs. Now, let me see if I could find what the INCAs task force is. It stands for Inland Crackdown Allied Task Force, and what they do is seize property, forfeiture laws, civil asset forfeiture laws, the seizing of property for people involved in drugs. Now, they're claiming this is a violation of the 14th Amendment, and it very well may be. It certainly falls under the 14th Amendment, but also falls under the 4th Amendment, which is in the Bill of Rights, and this is a perfect topic for one of our forums. And since we are going to finish out on the Bill of Rights, and since they brought this up, I would like to recommend the possibility of having this as the topic of our January forum, since that's the next opening. Now, I know we discussed a hate crimes forum, so I certainly don't want to push that aside, but I would like to put this on the table. This is also a topical issue because of people's concerns about asset forfeiture laws, and we should talk about what the constitutionality is and what the laws are. We certainly don't want to be promoting any illegal activity, although that remains to be seen. In any case, I would like to throw that out on the table as something that we could consider for the January forum topic.
Thank you very much. I think that we can and probably discuss that when we get down and talk about the proposal for the Hate Crimes Task Force to see about timing. Would like to, Charles? Would like to, for the record, indicate that Commissioner Boyd has just arrived, and welcome, and thank you very much for coming. I had a feeling that you were going to be here. I thought you would be here. Thanks for coming. Okay, moving right along, we're at commissioner comments right now. Are there any commissioners who have comments? I know that Paul John does, but Jim, you've got a comment.
Just to add to my mediation report, and I didn't have this in front of me at the time, but you had mentioned at our off-site meeting that we would get together and modify the approach we take for mediation. And I did look into that, and I noticed that we have a section of Human Rights Commission charter, and there is a section on referral and mediation of complaints. And the format is pretty well established and cast in concrete. And we'd have to take formal steps to modify it.
Point well taken. Are there any other commissioner comments at this time?
We also have our two student commissioners who
Yeah.
showed up after a long summer hiatus. We'd like to welcome you back.
Thank you.
And do you have any comments you'd like to share with us?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact.
Make sure your mics are on, please.
Moving right along with the Stop the Hate, Amanda and I have a proposal that we would like to start a Stop the Hate branch off of the task force at school. Commissioner Jacobs, was it?
Yeah.
Last year, had mentioned it to us, but we never really got it started. We have a proposal right here that I could read for you. It's short. We propose to start a campus club where students and faculty can report to members of the club issues of hate seen and experienced on campus. We propose to establish this group before the first of the year and have city and school officials participating in monthly discussions and activities as well as events and promotions to encourage a peaceful environment for all who attend Palm Springs High School. We propose to accomplish these goals in the following areas. Right now, these are our two main areas. Monthly meetings, which will be promoted to students through our daily broadcasting, which is INN, and through a short skit play that would be put on through our theater company, just to address topics and issues and how they can be resolved, also promoting the club. We're happy to hear that Mr. Feingold is accomplishing with the Hate Crimes Task Force, and we're wondering if you're interested in helping us or if any of the other members, commissioners, would be interested in helping us get this on the road before we both graduate, so we
Is there any time that you have set for a meeting that you'd like to establish?
We haven't set a time for the meeting. We're trying to get someone, an adult, to kind of back what we're doing. And then once we do, to have a meeting set, and then we have to go through ASB and other students at school to get it approved. But we want to.
I'll do anything I can to help you out.
Okay.
That would be
the
That's
adult.
great.
That
No,
would-
because I
Be
want the
careful.
school. I want the school to be involved. That's where we have to really start. So
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. You brought that to us tonight.
That would definitely fall under the Hate Crimes Task Force.
And as you all know about the One Book, One Palm Springs, about Grapes of Wrath. Well, I don't know if you guys have seen the flyer out about they're gonna have meetings regarding Grapes of Wrath. Teachers at Palm Springs High School have been notified of the events which will take place in October regarding the statewide literacy project, One Book, One Palm Springs. In the following weeks, AP teachers will have the opportunity to choose students who show an advanced interest in literary merit, the history of California, and unifying their city. We are proud to announce that both of us will be attending each event and are looking forward to enhancing our city through this activity. We will be handing out flyers to students one week, next week, maybe, since it's coming up, prior to the first event, as well as talking to each individual English class on the reasons why they should attend. Where is it? This is a flyer. On October 18th at 2 o'clock, they're having a library panel discussion of the literary merits of the book. And on October 20th at 2 to 4, they're having a performance by Ross Altman a folk singer and authority on Dust Bowl music and literature at the library. We thought they would be a good experience since we want the whole community to be a part of this. And just want to let you guys all know.
Great. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that a little later on, too, but that is one program that we're very proud to be a part of, and working with not only the schools, but the Library Commission for the betterment of the entire city. And there's a lot of good things happening in October with that event that hopefully we'll get a lot of people out for.
I agree.
Any further comments?
No,
That's it for
fine.
now. Thank you.
We're very, very, very thankful to have you here, and very thankful to have the movement within the school. And of course, as you're a part of this group, that anything you bring to us, we will address, and we'll address it together. So if
Thank you.
any
It's
help
good
you
to
need,
hear.
please let us know. And if Commissioner Feingold is not available, I will make myself as available as possible to you, as I'm sure any other of the commissioners will, because we want to make sure your programs are very successful.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Paul John, you had something to add, I think, as a comment about the dance-a-thon?
Yes, I do. I'm disappointed to report that the dance has been canceled. The reason being, YMCA took over the youth center, and so they, in order to do events like this, they like to have contracts and this and that. And before the youth center, they were on the shoestring budget. They were just whatever happens, happens, and they were pretty. A lot of people had a lot of freedom to do lots of things. And at the youth center, it was like publicly, well, actually, people, put it together, and so a lot of groups, though, these dance-a-thon was supposed to support. They're kind of disappointed. They were the Gay Associated Youth, the Palm Springs Ballet, and there was DARE, and the youth center, the Jewish Community Services. So there were, quite a few people involved, and we had several meetings already. We had a DJ lined up, and we had somebody to provide us refreshments and everything. It just happened the location at the youth center was not available anymore all of a sudden, and so we could not hold. And there were no other alternative sites like the pavilion was not available that weekend, and so it was kind of disappointing. And they hope they could do that next year.
Very
That's my
good.
report.
Very, very good. I'm glad you were able to follow up on that and keep us informed of that, because it's important for us to be involved in activities such as that within the community. And I am sorry that didn't work out either, but it's good to know that they had the initial support and the initial foundation for carrying off such a project. And hopefully it will be able to be done next year then. Okay. Any other commissioners have reports?
I don't have a report, but I have a couple of comments, particularly after Joe's remarks about the Incas and the asset forfeiture laws, et cetera, just in relation to a potential forum topic or a tie-in to a forum topic. One of the things that I am finding myself becoming more and more concerned about as time goes on is things like the American Patriots Act. And we had a brief discussion about that last week in relation to one of our agenda items, or last meeting on an agenda item, where there seems to be an interest or a willingness to be in favor of laws and changes in provisions that may limit our personal freedoms that we are perhaps more likely to support these days in post-September 11th world of ours than we may have been in the past. And I'm just finding myself with sort of an undertone of concern of what we may be setting up for ourselves in this country overall. I don't know, again, if that's a forum topic itself or something to tie into a forum discussion that I would be real interested in seeing happen, and would be happy to participate in putting something like that together. And just real briefly, in going back over our retreat notes, I noticed that we didn't identify a particular liaison to the business community. Not that we need to have every single community identified for ourselves, but particularly in relation to this week, I was elected chair of my local professional organization, the Professionals in Human Resources Association for the Coachella Valley. So with that, I would like to just, for the record,
Volunteer?
volunteer to be the business community liaison as well for whatever that may mean down the road.
Accepted, without objection.
I didn't think you would argue about that, but just for the record.
For the record, very good. And I think that your point is well taken as far as the potential forum topic, and I'm sure that's being referred to the forum committee that will hear back on that. So that's very, very good.
Thanks.
Charles, you had some comments?
Yes, I had emailed both Commissioner Zelness and copies to several of the commissioners regarding my position in terms of committee involvement and service. I wanted to know, had there been any further consideration of my request to serve on the Community Relations Committee?
As far as I know, Sly, you want to answer that as chair of the committee?
Sure, and my response to you, and I think I copied Bill and Dorothy as the other two committee members, but again, for the record, given that we all wear a variety of hats, I certainly am not opposed to having another person on the Community Relations Committee, understanding that we all get involved in efforts, initiatives,
Right.
programs, et cetera, that flop over. And, you know, I'm also on the mediation committee as well as the GLBT liaison and now the business liaison. So, you know, we do make those, you know, kinds of flopovers. Now, your interest, and I think we may be discussing that further in an agenda item, that your particular interests, Chuck, are more aligned with the Community Relations Committee than specifically the
Yes,
Mediation Committee.
definitely so.
You know, I don't see a problem in our, you know, kind of shuffling around so long as we know that Jim has got the resources he needs when there are mediation issues that come up that we need to participate with him in dealing with those. So
Thank you.
From, on a formality
Yeah.
basis, I don't, you know, again, I
Well
don't know if
said,
we need
well
to.
said. I mean, it doesn't have to be a formal thing. The most important thing is we have to remember that as far as our meetings are concerned, is that our subcommittees, if we do not want to, we have to make sure that in accordance with the Brown Act, as far as majorities are concerned, so 4 or fewer commissioners, it's fine. So.
And that would do it, because there were the three of us on the committee, and if Chuck is
Okay.
officially or unofficially part of the committee, then we're
Yeah.
still safe with the
Right,
quorum
because,
numbers.
and I appreciate that, Commissioner Zelness, because I wanted to make it also clear that I wanted to devote as much time to my efforts in terms of community relations, involving community relations, and not so much place my emphasis in either the mediation and our AIDS project, as I had committed to
fine.
erosion.
That's fine.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
fine. Any other commissioner comments?
Oh, I have a comment. I thought that Sly's comments about erosion of the rights and things like that happened in World War II. We studied that in American history. And one interesting question about post-September 11, how much of the constitutional rights should we apply to people of foreign citizenship? That's the question that I don't know in terms of, like, we have a foreign citizen in our borders, do we extend the same right to them? Or, I mean, well, as an example, we had the Christian aid workers back in Afghanistan. They were going to execute for spreading the Christianity in Afghanistan. So it's like the American rights was not extended to in Afghanistan, as an example. So that's
Yeah.
one thing that people don't.
Yeah.
Well, the public don't know, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting question that we trying to apply that to the foreign citizens,
Okay.
and maybe they might not apply it.
I think the Commissioner Guano has heard that there is probably ample interest in this sort of topic, and that would fall in line with his work last year as forums on the Bill of Rights, and I think that that would be a good continuation of our efforts, as well as the one you mentioned earlier, and we'll look forward to hearing back from you and your committee as far as the development is concerned on those. Moving right along, if we might, to the items of discussion and our vote, if that's all right with the commission. The first item on there is you asked for a draft letter of response to the mayor regarding our action on the Zero Tolerance for Drugs Act. It's in my report, page 11, if you would look. I have made a slight change in that since I copied it and saw it come through. At the end, it's going to be just sincerely, instead of what is there, just say sincerely, Dean Stephen Kaufman, Chair. Just make it simpler. So, did you all have a chance to review it? I know I sent it late, and I must admit that it was written, it was drafted, but I didn't get the chance to put it on the, to type it out until late last night. And so if there are any errors or any changes you would like to make in it, there is no problem at all because of the, unfortunately, I do not have a secretary to check my things. So I do not worry about changes such as that. You probably
Where's the
noted
draft?
on page
It's on page
11.
11.
You probably have noted that in my reports, there's probably some errors. Dorothy pointed out one in my personal comment that is actually, I was supposed to say no one instead of none in one location. So spell check does not catch those sorts of things. But I think that with Dorothy at my side, maybe things will get better this year.
But I don't see the draft.
Excuse me?
That's it.
That's it.
That's the
But
draft
where's
letter.
Where's the resolution?
Oh, it was in our last,
The resolution.
we voted on it at the
We
last meeting.
basically voted to send it back to him. That is what
Ah,
will
I
be
see.
sent back,
That's the one I
is the
wanted.
the initial resolution we sent back, and I have copies of that, should you want to see that too at this time. They're attached to this letter here. This one has the word sincerely on it.
Okay, so this is the.
Dean, I had two really insignificant comments,
Mhm.
other than the date, I think is supposed to be September 12th rather than the 14th, unless I missed a Saturday meeting.
This one's
But
Thank you.
the right letter.
I was a bit confused in that sentence right preceding the date. The commission received, reviewed, and rejected no less than 3 additional versions. At first, I thought, well, did we get additional copies or additional versions? But it was our subcommittee who
Mhm,
prepared
mhm.
additional drafts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's useful to include additional versions of the draft resolution drafted by a subcommittee of the commission or something to that effect.
Okay.
I agree, I think that clarifies it.
And my other comment was the last sentence of the paragraph, well, not the very last sentence, but the paragraph above that one. Instead of having the "it is with regret" sentence, simply closing the letter with the previous sentence, failing to reach consensus. We send the original resolution back to City Council and the Office of the City Manager with a recommendation of no action.
Okay.
And I can give you my notes here that, and I'm not invested in those
No, but I also
changes.
concur
but-
with that.
That is great. No problem.
Can I say, I agree with what Sly just said, because I think her version gives the angst we went through. And this letter, I was gonna say, didn't give enough angst that, you know, that it was a hard decision that, you know.
At the last
I mean, we
meeting.
really sat around, debated it, we debated the
At
drug
last.
issue and everything. And I think those changes will make it clear to the council that it was just something,
That's
It was a
fine.
vote.
Any other changes or comments by the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this letter as amended by Commissioner Zelnis.
I move we approve.
I'll second it. I'll
Go
second it.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Guano and seconded by by Commissioner Feingold. Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So it is approved 8-0 with the changes. Thank you very much, Sly.
Sure.
It's much better, and what we're doing here is working as a team. It's much better that way. It is always something that I was used to in my prior life working for the U.S. government at GAO. I was used to very much working as a team, so I enjoy very much having the comments from everyone on that. Our next item is review of the Congressional Innocence Protection Act. That again is in your packets for me, beginning on page 2. As we had discussed last week, we had discussed a draft proposal on a resolution on a moratorium on the death penalty presented to us by the ACLU. That was rejected by this commission, and as an alternative, I had proposed that we look at the Criminal Justice Integrity and Innocence Protection Act of 2001. The reason I wasn't able to find it earlier, it wouldn't come out for Innocence Protection Act. So I put in DNA, and it popped up with no problem at all once I put in the words DNA. So that is interesting that it would come out of the computer using that, but not actually using part of the title. I don't know quite how that worked. But this is the bill as introduced by our Senator Feinstein of California, and it is endorsed and by our own Congresswoman Mary Bono in the House. I don't know if you had sufficient time to look at the bill or would like more time to look at it since you got it somewhat late, and you now have it in the hard form. If you would like to put this off to our meeting on October the 10th, that would be more than understanding. I think that the Congress is not working on it right now, so that would be no problem. Whatever is the desire of the commission on that point.
Well, I, for one, am ready to take a vote on it.
You're ready to?
Yeah, I'm ready as well. I read it the other night.
Do you think I should make a comment?
If you want to, of course I do.
Okay. I was reading, there was an article about the DNA testing was made available to certain death row criminal, and very few percentage took advantage of that. And so they were trying to inquire how come they could be free from that. And they realized that some criminals, they don't want to have, they're afraid that they might be implicated in other crimes. So there's the issue of some criminals, they don't want it to be done because they like to have question hand, But when you have DNA is total, and like what happened with the San Diego case with Westerfield was so total. It was like he said he didn't do it, but then the DNA evidence was so convincing. There was no way to So there was that question of what do the other side.
I do not think that this bill requires anyone to have DNA testing if they do not want to have it. This bill is basically set up for testing, especially when people were first convicted, it was not available. That is the intent. And so I doubt whether that would be a concern
Right.
with this bill.
I think somebody said it was made available now to everybody. So how would the bill be different?
What the article points out, or what the act points out, is that there was a statute of limitations on admitting new evidence after a verdict.
I see.
This allows for that.
Oh, okay.
I think perhaps we should probably have a motion on the floor for this continued debate to be proper, and I believe that the Commissioner Guano may have made a kind of a motion on that.
I did, and I can't remember what it was. It was
You're ready to vote.
You said you were ready to vote.
Discuss it. Ready to
you-
discuss
Okay.
it, yeah.
Okay. I move that we vote on endorsing this act.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dorothy Bowens, and now we can have further comment if you'd like to. I'm sure that relieves Sly and Charles and Jim to know that we're now officially correct on this.
Can I make an official comment? Having voted against the moratorium, and then I read this bill, I think that I could absolutely support this bill because it's giving people on death row and other criminals a chance to prove, are you guilty or not? So, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I can't believe how many pages and how long it takes them to explain something as simple. Now I know why Congress moves so slowly. I mean, you have to be a lawyer to read this. So, but I support it, and so it shows that, you could support one side and the other side, but I think this gives a fair shake to everybody.
That's one of the reasons why when this came to our attention, that I thought it was important to bring it up in front of this commission, because it is an alternative approach to the subject matter that was brought up, a very positive approach to it, and something that is supported by our own legislators, and it's something that hopefully we would be able to convey to them our support. I will tell you that in doing so, if the motion is agreed to, I will make sure that I check things through the city attorney before anything is sent out, to make sure that we're on legal basis for what we say and do. And any letter that would be prepared then would go through the city attorney and then back to you for final approval.
And the nature of my question, I agree with everything that's been said, and I don't have a problem with supporting the act. What my question is, though, is what does it mean for us to endorse
That was my
this act?
question.
I mean, what does it mean? What's the point?
How do we affect the situation?
I think that one question, Jim has some comments on that, I think.
Yes, I think Sly has a very good point there. It sort of puts the public on notice that we're aware of it, and it gives them our opinion on it, since we have that charter to pursue these items of interest. So, can I say any
Another
more?
for the record kind of thing.
And it also gives additional support to those members of Congress who are trying to push this measure through, knowing that their constituents that are aware of their actions and are in favor of it. It helps them, I believe. Any further comments? We ready for a vote? The motion in front of you is by Commissioner Guano, is that we endorse.
Congressional Innocence Protection Act.
Fine. Would you like a roll call vote, or is a voice vote sufficient for everyone? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's 8-0. I like this. We're doing well tonight, 8-0. 801. So moving right along, thank you very much. I'm very, very happy that we're able to agree on that and to do that. I think that it's very good for us to do that. One Book, One Palm Springs, update and financing.
There really isn't much more to say from our previous meeting with the press release that went out identifying the events, activities going on, and Amanda got us into that a little bit and talking about the high school's activities around One Book, One Palm Springs. It is obviously a viable program. For those of you out in viewer land, read the book. There are lots of activities coming up in October, including a folk singer. The Friends of the Library Book Club is doing a discussion at the library open to the public. Our own forum on the literary and film aspects of social change, and culminating on the 25th with October 25th with the showing of The Grapes of Wrath at the Camelot Theater. Tickets will be available for free, certainly at the library and probably at other places too, including City Hall, as soon as they are available, and I think they're just about available, so certainly starting in October. The flyers, I understand, are also now available and going out to media outlets, to the Mizell Senior Center, to various other locations to promote the effort. I did a fairly spontaneous, not quite spontaneous, planned spontaneity, can we do that? At Village Fest last night, we got a call in response to the press release from the new CBS 2, our local CBS 2, did a live from Village Fest last week. I had a whole minute and a half to talk about One Book, One Palm Springs. I felt like the American Express guy who was just talking very fast to get all the information as quickly as I could in a minute and 30 seconds. So I don't know quite how it came off. I still have not seen anybody or talked to anybody who actually saw that piece, so and apparently none of us did either. But so be it. But it means that our press releases are getting out, thank goodness, and I think the new Channel 2, I hope the other stations are aware that the new CBS 2 is really looking at community efforts and going out and getting the stories important or interesting to the community. So it's perhaps even a bit of a challenge to the other media in town to look at what CBS 2 is doing and not forget that there are lots of organizations that warrant attention and some press for activities and events, and we appreciate Channel 2's doing that for this. We also at our last meeting approved a $500 expenditure from the Human Rights Commission to the One Book, One Palm Springs effort. And in further conversations with the library as well, rather than transferring dollars into the library's fund to use for that effort, since our forum will have speakers to whom we will pay a stipend, it'd probably just be easier logistically for us to pay those speakers directly the total of $500 and use additional resources in our other funds, funds for the program to pay for the other events. So just, again, a logistical ease.
That's fine. Just make sure that when those bills do come in that we get those so that they're paid on time.
We can do that, yes. And I think that's it. Joe, any other comments on that one?
Covered it all.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Moving right along tonight then, we're to the Hate Crimes Task Force proposed forum.
Okay, well, I guess there's good news, and we discussed having a forum, but we didn't come away with a topic, a specific, we couldn't agree on a topic yet. And I'm very happy to hear the high school wants to get involved in hate crimes, because I want the high school to be involved in the forum. So, Joe, you could have January with any topic you want to run with.
Great.
That's not a problem, because I was going to ask for some more time since we're
All
new,
right.
because we want to do it right. And I'd like some input from this committee. We talked about hate speak being very important, and we also discussed the changing Palm Springs, the population. And I think that's a broader topic, and I don't know. I don't know which one we want to do, or combine them.
Well, again, part of what we're doing is educating the public at large, and so we want to get a definition of what a hate incident is,
Right.
what a hate crime is.
Well, and we have our pamphlet
Okay.
that explains it. So my question, where are these pamphlets and how many do we have? It was suggested that we put them in magazines, but that's expensive. But I'm wondering if we have enough pamphlets that I would take the responsibility to put them certain places in town so people can get them. Because if they're sitting in a drawer somewhere.
I know
That's-
there's some at the police station,
Right, yeah, I've seen
in the
them at
lobby.
police.
There's some there, so they can pick them up at the police station.
But I think they should be like at Hunter's, they should be at the gay bars, some of the gay hotels, they should be at the Mizell Center, they should be at all different groups.
Last year, when they were first produced, they were sent out to those locations, and in fact, were placed in a couple of, or at least one publication. They were in a publication in the community. I have seen them out, but we can check with our staff to see what the status is, and if there aren't sufficient, we have that budgeted to prepare more of those. So that will not be a problem.
I would just like to make a point, and I know we all agree to this here, but maybe for the viewing public, that hate crimes is not strictly a gay issue.
Right,
That
that-
does
we discussed
involve-
that. We discussed that at length, that we want, and I'm glad you brought it up, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm asking people, not only from the gay community, to come to the meeting, because they have the task force. And we understand it's against religion, we understand. So, no, we discussed that at length, so we're trying to reach out, and that's our goal.
And just to make sure, one point on that really does include the senior citizens too, because there is a great potential there. And we want to make sure that everyone in our community is involved on this effort, because we would like to live in, I believe, a hate-free city if we possibly could. It's a dream that is the purpose, one of the purposes of this commission. So the more people who are involved from different perspectives who have experience or have experienced something like this, because it does cover everyone. And we have had experiences in the past, in the history of this country, in the history of the world, that it's not limited. It's not limited to one group of people at all, not at all. So we really encourage more people from the community to come out to the next meeting, which is
October the 22nd.
October the 22nd.
And the chairman has promised pizza.
The chairman is the vice chair. I want to make
The chairman of the
that
Hate
clear.
Crimes
The
Task
chairman of the
Force.
Hate Crimes Task Force has promised pizza. And that meeting is held in the one of the training rooms at the police department on Civic, right across the street from the City Hall. And if anyone needs further information on that, they can call our number at 322-8337. That's 322-8337. And so you're asking for input from the community and that
From the
input from
community and
the...
input also from my fellow commissioners.
Okay?
What
You've-
kind of forum they'd like to see the Hate Crimes
You've
Task
heard
Force.
the charge, and I think that I'd like to see some input from the from the high school, if at all possible, because we've talked about doing things away from City Hall, and this could be an opportunity to do such a thing. So anyway, there's lots of thought that can be put into this, and I think we have at least 2 other forum topics on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that can keep us going until maybe March, even, if you want to wait on that.
Okay.
So, anything further anyone wants to say on the topic of the Hate Crime Task Force Forum in the
Can I ask a
future?
question?
Mhm.
Of the high school, what hate crimes do you see at the high school? I haven't been in high school in a long time.
Really?
Kidding.
I personally haven't seen any, although I'm sure that they happen and they shouldn't. So I think we're more focusing on making sure they don't happen more than we've seen them happen, and we're trying to stop it.
Okay, so you want to stop hate, okay.
I mean, there is occasional fights. Well, not occasional, but every once in a while there'll be some kind of fight, but we just want to stop all the hate
But
that's
being
going
women
on. And
does-
there's racial slurs, because, you know,
Okay.
we do have gays at our school, and some people like to make fun of them. That's considered a hate crime. And then there's people that, you know, may be considered the nerds or...
What you have too probably is the issue of bullying
Yeah.
and a hate incidents or hate language and something like that, which is an issue that can be dealt with and that needs to be brought up, because I do firmly believe that hate language and bullying someone around for whatever reason can make a real impact upon a person's
It can,
life,
Yeah.
Especially at this time.
especially as a
Age.
student.
Yeah.
Especially as a student. I think I was lucky to avoid some of that when I was growing
We're at
up.
a
Like-
time where everyone's opinions matter.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
So,
I'd also like to include like rap music.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could explain to me how those lyrics endear people to each other.
They don't.
Yeah.
Rap
But-
and music are
Tasty.
sort of mutually exclusive terms.
But it's out
aren't
there,
they?
I mean,
And then
Just
the-
have to listen
yeah.
and go with it.
But you couldn't play it on this station.
this is an opportunity here as a member of the Human Rights Commission to maintain your youth and to keep active. So, welcome.
I'm going, yep.
Yeah, and then in terms of hate speech or hate, I was walking one time during the street fair, and we passed by asked the rabbi booth.
Mhm.
There was some people commented or something, very anti-Semitic remark, and I was surprised they still have, they still that kind of feeling, anti-Semitic feeling. I was like shocked, and I was offended, and.
Hate language, hate incidents should be offensive to all of us, and we need to speak out when they happen and report them to the hate crime task force, because in that way, by noting them, I like to talk in terms of medical terms sometimes, but if you report hate crimes or hate incidents, hate language, then you have the basis to make a diagnosis. And if you can make a diagnosis, you can hopefully work toward a cure or for healing something. So that's what I think that we're looking forward to too. So with that, if there's no further discussion, we'll move on to the Community Relations report and their definition document that was presented at our last meeting, and for input from this commission to the committee. Sly?
Sure. I don't know if all of you have that memo in front of you from our last meeting, which was a report on the Community Relations Committee's get-together to talk about some directions, things we wanted to see happen, things we wanted to do, both in terms of the press, materials, Village Fest, et cetera. One of the things that specifically was identified last time to talk about at this meeting was a comment about having off-site commission meetings. We did, in fact, check with Rick about that immediately after the last meeting. And from the standpoint of Channel 17 being able to do remote coverage of our meetings at this point in time is just really not likely to happen. Given staffing, there is equipment to do it, but the time, the staff, the resources to bring people out to do the kind of job that we would want to have done is not feasible. And we just don't have the resources here to do that at Channel 17, which is not to say we can't have meetings off-site, but we would be sacrificing the live feed and having a tape for posterity if we do that. But, you know, how important is that to us, not as individuals, but as the commission, to have the visibility that we get with Channel 17 weighed on one side with our being out in the community and being more visible in locations outside of City Hall? Where do those two balance out? What's the feeling in the group, just at this point preliminarily?
I don't know the demographics of how many people actually watch Channel 17. I'm sure it's an enormous audience.
We're told, that's what we're told. Joe.
However, for instance, I would think having a forum at the Mizell Center that discusses issues, have an agenda that discusses issues pertinent to senior citizens, would bring out perhaps people who would not normally tune in. And I think that would be a very positive thing. We would get out and we would probably draw people into our broader audience. So I think it's a good idea.
Sly, I think this would be a time where the Village Fest, and if we had the booth there at the Village Fest, you could put material there. Now, the Palm Springs Police Advisory Committee, we've put the Village Fest on hold until after the election. So that's one reason I'm not reporting anything back with that. After we meet after the election, it will be back on our agenda. Right now, it's tabled, but we are in favor of the Village Fest and having a booth there. So to me, this would be a time when the Human Rights Committee, commissions, we could put something, literature on the table.
Mhm.
For instance, the pamphlet that you're talking about.
Okay, can I comment? I'd like to go back to what Joe said, like you read my mind. I was like, let's just try it once this year. And the Mizell Center was what I was thinking of. And do some type of forum, or have a regular meeting that revolves all around senior issues. And then we can judge, is it worthwhile? Do people come out? I mean, because the seniors, I think they'll come out. I think we have to have it earlier, at a time when, people are at Mizell. But I think it could get a lot of interest, and I think that the seniors, they talk to each other, they talk to other people, and I think we should try it once, just to see what happens.
I have a comment about that one. The Mizell Senior Citizen and the City Hall is just not far apart from each other. And then the advantage of having forum in City Hall, we have a large auditorium, it's well air-conditioned, and it's well equipped with TV, and everything, and all the staffing. And find out if we advertise well enough that it should be not a problem in terms of transportation between the other location here. So the,
But Paul, they feel comfortable at the Mizell Center. They know how to get there, that, you know, we're talking
agree.
about seniors. A lot of people are afraid to come to City Hall to meetings.
Yeah.
It's something very daunting, coming to the government building. And I think that the whole idea is to go to their house and say, this is what we do.
And a lot of
I
times-
think they'd be more comfortable.
They have transportation too,
Right.
if someone is already taking them there. So it's not like it's a night thing. You know, like you said, if we can go to them during the day, during the regular time they're there, it would be a good idea.
I would agree, and looking forward to a comment from Commissioner Janis, and he's raised his hand.
Yes, and being acquainted with Mizell Senior Center as a member of the board, you have to be concerned about the conflict because they do have so many programs going on. When do you plan to have this?
We don't know yet, we're just discussing it. I would think,
Well-
obviously, next year sometime.
Oh, next year?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you could
And we'd
plan
give
that
them-
far ahead.
Oh, yeah, we'd give them a couple of months' warning and say, how would this work out? I mean, can we, we'll give them notice.
I hope that it's not a warning
Warning, well.
situation.
Well, let me
We're
give you,
invading their space.
let me give you some advice then. You have to get in touch with the operations manager, and because of all of the programs that are going on, and see if they can find a slot for you. And I would do that very soon. And they usually want something like 4 or 5 months ahead of time. I try to get a Toastmasters contest, speech contest there. And I did have to weasel in there with my influence, and they had to set aside one of the programs in order to get it in there. But I'm not saying I can use that influence in this case.
Well, why not? We try to use all our influence and all our connections with different groups as much as possible to be as effective as we possibly can. So, but I'm sure that you'd be willing to work with the committee on developing that sort of a forum. Would you not? Because 2 years ago, you conducted a forum on senior issues here for us.
If we were to look at having a meeting earlier, I know Paul, for one, is not likely to be able to make it because of work schedule. Dorothy's shaking her head. Joe,
Oh, we'll do our best.
would we be able to have a bona fide meeting and have a quorum?
That's what I was going to ask, because
If we
I'm
had it
all
earlier.
for.
The issue would be
Yeah.
probably more of a forum than a meeting, because we would not probably be able to have a sufficient number of our own members. We've had a problem with an earlier date for a
Right.
long time, and we are, of course, as you know, transitioning next year. We're transitioning to our business meeting being on Mondays from 3 to 5.
It's next year.
Beginning next year, and that was told to all the new commissioners as they come on. So that is planned for next year. So hopefully that will work out. But that has always been an issue with us. Charles.
Yes, I have a question, Commissioner Zellner. As of now, the Community Relations Committee, do we have a scheduled time when just the committee members meet? I mean, has that been established?
No. No, and it's not like we necessarily need to meet the second Tuesday of the month or whatever,
Right.
but as we need to, when we're planning events or getting people together to begin to put things together for a particular event, then, certainly we can call a meeting whenever we need to. And it
see.
doesn't necessarily have to be an agendized meeting
Okay.
with the Brown Act.
It works out real good. We can have lunch and discuss things.
Yes, we
good.
like
Okay.
that.
So we like that.
As long as
Yes.
there aren't too many members.
No, no,
As
and
long
we're
as there's not a
okay.
majority.
okay.
We're the four. So in relation to our off-site possibilities, can I look to Joe and Jim as our education and senior rep to, be thinking about what we can do in terms of a forum that then we could have earlier in the day, wouldn't need a quorum for a business meeting, and be able to achieve this one-time experiment that may turn into something more than that, and look at the senior center as a possibility.
That sounds good. And I just want to clarify, when we talked about next year, are we talking about fiscal year or new year, past January?
I think you're talking about the calendar year 2003, which would be part of this commission's fiscal year,
So it's
if at all
spring.
possible,
We're looking at
spring,
springtime.
April, May, June timeframe, something like that. Is Jim?
One more comment on Mizell Senior Center. There is a fee to use the auditorium there. Keep that in consideration.
Okay. We do have funds, and hopefully that might not be an issue, that we'd be able to take care of that with our funds.
I have a comment in terms of maybe a consideration of outside meeting for forum. Maybe how about Highland Center? Do deal with the Area 41 issue? So that's the one we're supposed to have a forum on.
Section 14?
Is it Area
14,
41?
Section 14, it's
Section
Area
14.
52, I think, or 51, something like that. Area 51, but it's Section 14 here in Palm Springs. yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
that's one
That-
doing in the Highland Center. I think that would be kind of appropriate. We were talking about maybe doing a formal on that on the Area 14. No?
I was just had a scratch.
The Desert
Just
Highlands
have-
Community Center was one of the things that we talked about as,
Yeah.
Mizell being
And-
one, the Desert Highlands Center,
Yeah.
schools, maybe the library, there may be, lots of opportunities. But if we can start someplace
And there are a
and
number.
see how it goes.
There are a number of subjects too that we can investigate and use to be the most productive as we possibly can, hopefully, on those issues. But those are things that we do need to be conscious of and thinking of, and making sure that we give input to not only the Community Relations Committee, but to the Forums Committee, and work together. This is what Sly was saying earlier, is that it's awfully hard to draw lines between the different committees and who's sitting on them. And I think I hear an echo. I'm not sure if I do or not, but stand back a little bit. But this falls right in line with your comments to Charles earlier in the day. So, any further comment on the or any further feedback on the community relations material?
I have some more questions about it.
Good.
There
Good.
were a couple of things that actually weren't in that memo that partly came up at the last meeting, and also things that I'm thinking about. In terms of our community visibility, we do have coming up the first weekend in November, the Pride Festival, the Pride Parade and the Pride Festival. And I wanted to mention that now for the purpose of whatever planning we might want to do, if we do in fact want to participate again this year in the parade. At least the past couple of years that I know of, we've actually had, I think it was through you, Jake, Denise, had an antique-ish car, convertible, and those commissioners who were available rode in the convertible to, have the Human Rights Commission emblem on the side of the car, and to show our participation, support, et cetera. And I have to say, having ridden in the car 2 years in a row, it's a kick. It really is. It's just fun, and it reminded me that there are people out in television land and watching Channel 17, because sometimes we wonder, with our one person in the audience this evening, we're so glad to have you, whether or not anybody is really out there. So in the interest of seeing if we want to do that again this year, given that I think that's the first thing coming up this fall, that is a community event that, has a parade and some visibility, is that something we want to participate in again?
I've been talking with, we're trying to get some information on that. There's an application right there, but talking with them and finding out a little bit more about it. Unfortunately, I was not the one who made the arrangements in the past. Our former chair Denise was, and I want to get together. I think we should get together with her and find out the ins and the outs about that sort of thing. But yes, and we have to do that quite quickly, I believe, because their deadline without having a penalty for doing it is like the 30th of September.
Oh, So now would be a good time for us to decide whether or not we want to
Yes,
participate.
now would be a good time to decide that issue, would be a very good time to decide that issue. And I'm glad that it's on the agenda through your committee.
Me too. Not having looked at this, Dean, is this parade and/or a booth at the festival grounds itself, or just parade?
That's the parade.
Okay.
That's the parade, yeah.
Okay. Last year, and again this year, PFLAG intends to have a booth, and we're agreeable to having our hate crimes brochure, our discrimination complaint form, and some other materials, our mission statement, et cetera, there at the PFLAG booth. So I would venture to say that they would probably be willing and happy to do that again, unless we want to have a booth, which kind of stretches things a bit as far as our resources and commitments. So with that in mind, shall we pursue the parade route, and/or a booth at the festival?
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
Sure. I would like to make the motion that we participate in the Pride Parade and pursue the possibility of getting a car.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Further discussion on the issue?
I think it's a good idea.
You want to ride in a convertible? It is fun. I've done it a few
Really
times.
pass out flyers
And
Do you have a driver's license?
I'll drive.
Okay, and any further discussion on the issue? It's not just this parade, but as you mentioned in the report that the committee made, is being in the parade for the Black History Month in February, correct?
Yes.
And in any event such as this, I'm not sure how that impacts like the veterans group, the veterans parade. I don't think they want,
They don't want us?
I'm not sure how that works. Do you, Joe?
No, I don't.
I'm not sure how that works for that, but any such opportunity as this is, I think that it gives us that opportunity that we've been talking about being in the community and letting people perhaps have a greater chance of knowing who we are, so they know who to contact. If they see us on the street, in the grocery store, I mean, that is very important too, that we have that sort of visibility and that they feel comfortable in coming up to us. I think that's very, very important. So, any further commissioner comments on this motion? Oh, you seconded it.
I second it, yeah.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Again, is this 8-0? Okay.
You're on a roll now. Okay, a couple of other things that I just wanted to mention to begin to get commitments, because it just seems until we do that, things either don't happen or take a really long time to happen. And one of the really important things, particularly in light of the potential for Village Fest presence, as well as just our general outreach to the community and visibility in the community, is making sure that we have useful, up-to-date materials to present to people, whatever their issue might be. One thing that comes to mind, I know we talked about this at least a couple of years ago, was a brochure or a flyer or some explanatory information about the mediation services that we offer. I don't think we have anything, or I haven't seen anything that specifically talks about the mediation program. And I wondered, Jim, if you and your committee, of which I am a part, would be willing to take on drafting something that we can at least start with to have as whether it's something like the Hate Crimes Task Force brochure, or even a one-page flyer like our mission statement that speaks to the mediation program.
Good point.
Would you be willing to spearhead that, not necessarily do it yourself, but spearhead the development of that kind of a document?
I'll look into it. I'm not good with spears.
Okay. Okay.
But as a member of that committee too, I will say that call a meeting and I shall be there.
Okay. Another thing that came up in my mind that I think I perhaps had suppressed, having made a comment to this effect a year or two ago and was almost run out of the room on a rail. And that is the possibility, or I throw out on the table for your consideration, the possibility of doing some form, and not to move into your area, Chuck, but looking at some form of a survey or some way to reach out to the community to say, what do you want from your Human Rights Commission? What are the things that may be of particular interest to you, whether it's in the way of forum topics or things that the community feels we need to be involved in, or ways that we can be more visible in particular areas that may need our visibility more than others. I mean, we certainly, as a group and as individuals, represent different parts of the community. And so I hope that as we make our contacts out in those areas, we're bringing information back to the commission. But I just wonder if it may be useful, and the forum, I'm not proposing at this point, I don't know if it would be a paper review or something that the Desert Sun may be willing to collaborate with us on, but just the concept of doing some kind of community outreach to find out what the citizens of Palm Springs want from their Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
I just had a thought on that. You know that the city has recently developed or purchased or obtained a very sophisticated telephone system that gives the citizens a large option of things that they can ask for or give comments on. And I was wondering if we might check with our staff on whether or not we couldn't tie in better with the use of that. I also know that one of the reasons why the Police Advisory Committee was so interested in having a booth at Village Fest was for that basic reason of being able to get information from the public. And those are two things that come to my mind. And I think that being one who likes new things in telephones, I think that that's one area that we could perhaps look into very constructively.
Is Dorothy being a troublemaker over there?
No.
Okay.
Thank
Oh, is it too cold in here?
No, I was
on this side.
It's cold over there, but it's a little warm.
Well,
You
that's-
and I will talk later.
I think maybe I should pull my coat off or something.
So what I would suggest then is, for starters, that I check with staff on the technology here at City Hall to, perhaps get something, for example, in the Desert Sun that poses a question and gives people a particular number to call in order to provide feedback. And, like doing a forum outside of City Hall, we could try this as kind of an experiment to see what kind of a response do we get. Are people out there with ideas for us that we can tap into? And that's the whole point. We are for the community. We are not for ourselves as an entity. And knowing what the community is interested in could only be a good thing for us.
Well, I think it was like one good thing at our police advisory meeting 2 weeks ago when Commissioner Iguana was there and we had the group to come in, and right away he referred them to the Human Rights Commission. And so that was good. That was good PR for us because he was right there and he was right on it, and I'm almost sure that we're going to refer it to this group.
Great. Yeah, and one of the items that we mentioned a couple of times in that report of last meeting was our own individual observing, being out in the community, looking for opportunities to promote the Human Rights Commission, to let people know who we are, where we are, how to reach us, what we can do for them and, their respective groups. But, again, it takes that consciousness for us to be out there promoting, basically, doing some marketing for the commission and the fine work that we do.
And I really appreciate the fine work that you're doing and the Community Relations Committee is doing, because it's making us think an awful lot right now and to get those ideas rolling, in addition to the forums and the Hate Crimes Task Force, both groups, and the mediation. I think that we're off to a very good start, and I think that the next subject is even going to get us into another area Do you have further things you want to bring up on this?
The only one other thing, and I would ask you if you refer back to that memo after this evening, and I will bring it up again, and it'll probably come back in various permutations over time. But think about if there are other materials besides a mediation brochure. We've got the Hate Crimes Task Force brochure, which for all intents and purposes is still accurate, up to date, et cetera.
I've asked the people in Los Angeles to send me all their new pamphlets about anti-violence, and so maybe we can use something
Maybe other
from them.
things as well,
Yeah.
sure. And if there are other things that you think about that before you became involved with the Human Rights Commission, that may have been a question in your mind, that if there had been some information about X, it would have been really helpful to you or someone you know, and bring that forward, if you would, either to any of us on the committee or here at the commission meeting, so that we can really be as out there as possible. And materials that we can hand to people is always a really useful thing to have. So if you'll be thinking about that as well, we'd appreciate that.
Okay. Any further comment on the community relations report? Not hearing none, we'll go to our final issue today, which is a brand-new thing from Commissioner Boyd on assessing minority visibility in Palm Springs. And I must say that I received the modified revised proposal this afternoon on the email, and I'm very pleased to see that some of the changes that you've made in your approach. I'm very pleased to see some of those changes. So the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaufman. First of all, I'd like to make a public recognition and a thank you to a Miss Kathy Van Horn, who is the Economic Development Administrator for the City of Palm Springs. I've done a lot of legwork. I spent about 45 minutes in conference with Ms. Van Horn, who was very resourceful. And that was basically one of the reasons for me modifying the proposal and making some immediate revisions. It was through Ms. Van Horn that I got a pretty good insight as to the demographics, not only of Palm Springs, but other communities. A total different picture in terms of business, workforce, a lot of other important facts and things that needed to be, I needed to be aware of. So thank you to Ms. Van Horn. I also, in attending this evening's meeting, I said how timely the mission statement, Human Rights Commission of Palm Springs, goals and duties of the commission as set forth by the city ordinance number 1426, especially items 1, 2, and 8, development community education programs, investigate and mediate instances of discrimination, provide conflict resolution services to residents of Palm Springs for complaints of discrimination. How timely. Most of you received my first proposal. As I said, I modified and revised that. And it's basically what I'm bringing to you this evening, and it's very interesting because each and every one of you as a collective body, this overlaps, these issues, education, business, hate crime, specific communities, just overall involvement. There is very much so a low visibility of minorities in terms of mainstream workforce. I attached to the revision proposal as given to me by Ms. Van Horn, the top 25 employers of Palm Springs. I won't go into that at this time for many reasons. But I asked the commissioners to view some of these employers. Within these top 25, definitely are questions that I raise as to minority visibility. As a matter of fact, one of my main objectives is to look further into some of these employers in terms of minority representation, if any at all. Now, the other reason I was inspired to move along these lines of creating what I would like to have recognized as minority affairs part of the Human Rights Commission, known as the Minorities Affairs Council, which would comprise of a body not only of commissioners, but out in the community from each ethnic group, feedback, certain things that aren't quite so in the mainstream focus of ongoing issues and plight that they have, especially in areas of employment, job promotion, and representation on other boards and commissions. It's like, where are we? So this proposal, I'm asking for your consideration, further viewing, and perhaps let's see if we can get something going collectively, reaching out, as I have itemized and or outlined. Basically, the purpose is to provide an advisory group, technical information, and professional assistance to those minorities, regardless of their race, religion, ethnic background, and national origin. When I mention the areas of technical information, I want the community to be aware of that, even from composing a resume to where they can go within an employment, to how they would formulate their resume, to once they're employed, what procedures, what along lines that they would go in order to get some sort of inspired efforts to move into supervisor and or management level positions. How do they go about it? How do they prepare for it? These are things that need to be addressed among minorities. Also, efforts, and this overlaps into what Commissioner Zellness was speaking about, outreach to the community, and making an asserted effort to bring everyone into the mix, to let them know we need all of you. We need all of your input, as well as to the high schools, and collectively working within, and this is excellent to see you too. It's very encouraging because, again, we want to go into the schools, especially the minority youth, those that are graduating and go into the workforce, what they can expect, how to be prepared professionally and what have you, and to make sure that those particular employers, that they seek employment, that the doors are open. Now, this is a reality check. I have personally placed myself in the position of going to several of the employers, just as a test to see how far I would go. And I gotta tell y'all, it's very disparaging, very discouraging, and it's time that they be accounted for their actions, which along the lines of being unethical practices in terms of employment. I question that. Basically, my overall plea at this time is to be able to, with your support, to formulate such a council. And I already have commitments. I listed the Desert Highland Community Center with Commissioner Bowens, Mr. Ware, I believe the name is.
Yeah, yes, he sits on the board, I sit on the board as well.
Yes, he spoke very highly of you, Commissioner Bowens.
Oh, thank you.
Very highly of you.
Thank you.
Very encouraging. I have speaking engagement on October the 8th.
Oh, that's the community meeting?
Yes.
I'll be there.
That is correct. I've also been in touch with the offices of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, chairperson, Mr. Richard Milanovich. And I'm very busy in this objective and effort. So to the chair of the Human Rights Commission, I'd like to add to the Hate Crime Task Force, to the community relations, to mediation, another very important, long overlooked area of minority affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Boyd. I'm very, as I said, very pleased with several of the revisions that I see from in your report and in the stance in the proactive area. I think it is very much what this commission likes to do. So we'll open it to discussion. I think that what I heard, you were making a motion to create a Minorities Affairs Council as a part of the Human Rights Commission.
Yes.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Feingold. Now it's open to discussion. And again, you directed this toward me, but I must say that it is the decision of the entire commission, not my decision of what goes on here.
Thank you.
Okay?
I'd like to add one more comment on behalf, what also inspired me along these lines, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, is a former human rights commissioner that did a lot of work for many years, and very vital in the community. Very few people knew of the problems that was going on in terms of employment with this commissioner. And when he made efforts to reach out for public support, look for organizations, help, none. And I think that was one of the things that said if I ever took a position on this commission, on behalf of that person that works so hard, effortlessly, I mean just continuous effort, and to know in the personal scheme of things that he had these ongoing plights with his place of employment. So, just wanted to make that comment.
That comment is well received. I'm aware of that, and I had wished at the time that he had brought more things directly to this commission at the time things were going. I'm not sure exactly what the status is right now, but that comment is very well taken. So, this is open for debate on the creation then of a Minority Affairs Council on the lines that are here. I might say too that when we get into this and when it's developed, new things such as this, if there are some legal matters, we do always clear them through our legal counsel, the city attorney's office. So
Well,
just
would
keep that
be,
in mind.
That would be my first question. Is the motion to endorse this document in front of us?
Is that your intent?
Or just to
Or the
form
creation
a
of the-
creation of a committee?
To form, at the moment, the creation of the committee.
And then the committee then would take this document and develop it further?
Absolutely.
Is that the intent?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my question, because I didn't know if we were voting on this either, the whole package. Was it a package thing?
No.
So,
I have a second question in terms of why do you pick the word council as opposed to committee?
I looked that
Task
up.
force.
And task force, committee, council. I like the idea of a council because it was definition advisory, supportive, information. It's not such a governing sort of position, but to support and to advise. And so I chose council.
I see. So like a city council.
No.
No,
no.
This is the opposite.
no.
I know.
We're here right now, do we?
I don't think we should get into too much
that.
trouble with that, Joe, but, but no, I think what you're saying is, with that, is very much a proactive view in working with the folks in the community as to giving, to understanding the situation and then providing counsel, as in the word CONSEL, I believe.
That word. I have a question to ask. When you're going to be speaking on the 8th, are you going to be speaking as a human rights commissioner, or you just going there to speak as a person? I mean,
What if I were to say both?
I'm only asking the
Okay,
question.
no, right.
You know, which
Basically, as a human rights commissioner with emphasis on these issues.
Okay, so when we vote on this, that's what you're going to be taking, because you've already evidently talked to Mr. Ware, because I know your name is on the agenda, because we've already done the agenda, and when I saw it, it was like, okay.
So what Dorothy is actually saying is that for you to speak on behalf of this commission, we must vote to allow that. Otherwise, you would be speaking as an individual.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's
That's what I'm wanting to know.
That's the distinction that
Exactly.
she's making.
Can I add something? I want to congratulate you on this presentation. I mean, you did a lot of work, and it sounds
And
like
still working.
it's still, yeah,
I'm
it's
still
constant, all these
digging
commissions and
and
councils
gathering.
of work. But with the speaking program, I think you should be very careful. And I
Very.
think you might be well advised to speak as an individual.
Okay. This is
You
what
know,
I
you could
need-
say,
I need
you're a
to be
member of
back.
the Human Rights Commission, but I'm here tonight as
Right.
Charles Boyd. I'm not able to speak
Representing.
representing the commission. This is what I think. This is what I'm working on. But you'll get in a lot of trouble if you're speaking for the commission. 'Cause You
Generally-
might just say one thing wrong, and we're all in trouble.
Generally speaking on that, the only people who are allowed to speak for the commission are the chair, the vice chair, and the member of the executive committee, rotating member of the executive committee. So in that light, you should be speaking as an individual in that capacity.
Because I'm there, I'll be at the meeting, but I'm at the meeting because I sit on the board.
Right.
So that's why I'll be there.
Okay.
I think too, Chuck, I also commend you for making the effort to move in this direction. And I have, just because I never have opinions on anything, it's just a shame. Do have a couple of comments, and I think the most positive aspect of this, or what strikes me as the most positive, is the resource that a group like this can provide, particularly to youth, and, not just speaking to you guys, but, generally speaking, for mentoring kinds
Yes.
of opportunities, for
Exactly.
information sharing, for, looking at, I don't want to say career counseling per se, but talking about career options and being someone who can provide some guidance and even inspiration, perhaps, to somebody to kind of get on their way. I bristle a little bit at the thought of, targeting specific businesses to determine hiring practices, percentages of minorities, et cetera, because of the potential backlash, if you will, that might present.
Or legal implications.
Or legal implications. I think, all we have to do is look around,
Right.
and we can see that there is a lack of minority representation out in the business community, particularly in high visibility kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a survey to figure that out. You don't have to do a survey to look at the city's boards and commissions to know that we're not fully represented by all aspects of the community. So, perhaps taking the approach of not even a backdoor approach, that's not what I mean, but being a resource to work with kids, to provide speakers through the community to deal with issues that are specific to our minority groups, can be a real positive thing. And I would just share with you, for some of you on the commission, it's old news, but last year, speaking of Spears, Jim, I was spearheading an effort to do a survey of the boards and commissions here at the city for demographic information. And I pulled up some data from the then newly released 2000 census that spoke to the makeup of our community here in Palm Springs. And my interest, and that of a few other people too, was to survey the boards and commissions to find out what we look like as appointed board members and commissioners, and are we in fact representative of the community? There was not an intent to say, oh, shame on you, Mr. Mayor, you didn't make good appointments, you're not, being representative, but to identify those areas where, be it the mayor and city council, be it individual boards and commissions themselves, might want to do more recruiting, if you will, when there are vacancies in the next round of appointments, to go out to be more visible to various communities and get more people interested in applying for boards and commissions. Because that's, frequently the case for, a body like city council to say, if we don't have people applying to boards and commissions, we can't very well make appointments that are representative of the community, if representatives of the community aren't coming forward and volunteering. So it just says to me that having that kind of data gives us something to look at in terms of where do we need to focus our efforts. That initiative did not carry through this commission. It got voted down. And the main reason for that was the sense of how it may be received. That, people don't like, well, the whole concept of affirmative action and quotas and targets and whatever we call them, goals and objectives, they get heard as quotas. And even though we don't mean it that way, and that's not our intent or our direction, there is that fear of that kind of perception. So I think if we kind of minimize what may be viewed as potentially negative or frightening even, if you will, and really look at the ways that, whether it's through this commission or through a separate group that focuses on minority issues, that it be a resource and educational
Following
focus.
up on that, if I might, and I think our youth people have something to say, is that what I hear you saying, and I fully agree with that, is that if this sort of entity would concentrate on issues 1, 3, and 4 and eliminate 2, I think that would be plenty to do, at least to begin with, and that would be completely a proactive approach. That is something that this commission would probably be more likely to endorse.
I kind of have a question as well as a comment from a student aspect. Why did you choose, well, question first is what these days, especially in this city and in California, is a definition of a minority with how integrated everyone is, and that people that used to be minorities are no longer minorities, that it might get the wrong picture across for the fact that who determines what a minority is. And I know as a student, to offer a minority workshop or help would probably agitate some people in the fact that if they don't think that they're being targeted as a minority, that they're going to be felt left out, because they're going to think that since they're looked at as a majority, that they're not going to be helped when maybe they need help as well. I think maybe the term minority should be more well defined or modified in some way.
No,
I hear a great volunteer for your group coming up, per se.
no. Let me address that. There's really a very, very old sort of statement and comment that I add to that. We can't camouflage ourselves. We are what we are in the eyes of reality. Me being of a minority, I still face everyday ongoing issues that are unique to minorities. Even along the lines of youth, whom I've also done legwork within the Palm Springs High School, in which I have acquaintances and contact with several professors and what have you. So I've done my homework. And I must say, there's some disparaging areas in there that have already been brought to my attention. What, as the chairperson, Commissioner Kaufman, has stated, my objective, overall objective, is to basically inspire those along the lines of quote-unquote minorities, African American, Hispanic, and even though it's a great melting pot, when you graduate from high school and you enter into the workforce, you are reminded of minority. I would like nothing better to look through rose-colored lenses and be able to erase all of this. But the thing is, the reality check once you leave high school or even college, university, with these wonderful thoughts and concepts of taking on the world, but then you are confronted with mainstream things that still go on to this day that are very prevalent, that are experienced by minorities. So what I wanted to be able to do, because there is, even within the high schools here, there is still a certain amount of separation. There is still a certain amount of segregation. Even in this day and age, 2002, I've done my homework. And again, I don't like what I see, but those issues have to be addressed. There are students that still feel left out. There are a segment that are doing well, but the majority, the silent majority, minority, are still not in the mainstream of things. There's still not that incentive. And as a matter of fact, let me ask you, I intended to look into that and didn't get a chance. Are there any sorts of groups that lean along minority involvement efforts or anything within the school?
As far as I know, we have, the only thing that I know of that addresses exact minorities would be the Black Student Union. They, and the Asian Club.
And the Maya Club.
Yeah, the Maya Club. They
Now,
are,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
anyone is allowed to be a part of it, but they are strictly, or most of the members, if you would see, are,
Asians,
The
Mayans.
majority is, but there are other,
Joe, do you want to speak into the microphone?
well, I just wanted to point out that we do have those clubs, and while perhaps the majority of the students are of that ethnic persuasion, it is not exclusive. These clubs are integrated. Okay.
So Chuck, is it safe to say that when you're referring to minorities in this context, I think your question is real good. How do you
It is.
define minorities with our
Exactly.
changing demographics? That you're really speaking to people of color?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, like Amanda pointed out, in school, there's a lot of melting pot, and then there's also Hispanic now becoming like 40% of the population, Coachella Valley. So it's not becoming a minority anymore. It's becoming majority. It's becoming a cultural force. Now even our taste for food is mostly Mexican now.
But that's still, even with that, the mixing and the
majority.
diversity, there still is, and I have no doubt about what Chuck is saying, that in real life, when it comes to jobs and other opportunities, regardless of what your numbers may be,
Exactly.
you know, African Americans, Hispanic Americans are not, don't have the kinds of opportunities that us European Americans have.
Well, the Asian American, well, like if you go to UC Berkeley, like 40% are Asians, and but then the minority in the population, but the cultural society, they kind of like, they push the children to work hard, and are you trying to tell, well, the thing is educating what are these Asian families are doing that is so successful. Maybe that could be helpful to the other minority that has trouble living up to the society standard. And the other thing, issue about minority, 5 years ago when I was in the commission, that was when I became part of the commission, I was given a task to work with the Asian American community, and I didn't find it easy to find where do they meet, and not like Highland Center. Or even the Mexican community, I didn't know where do they meet.
Exactly.
And so it was like, I didn't know where's the community. So it's like each family would be busy trying to survive, to work, and to live, and to raise children. And so there was no the political or community type thing. So it was hard for me to interact to do easily. So that's my experience 5 years ago. So I didn't do too much, even though,
Commissioner Feingold.
I love the idea of Minorities Affairs Council. It's a little overwhelming what you want to do, but I understand your enthusiasm. And my only suggestion is, I don't know if we're going to vote tonight to say, we should go ahead and find legally if we could have this commission, but I really think you have to start with small little baby steps, maybe concentrate on 2 areas. And
This
if
is
that
not an
works,
overnight
and then you
issue.
then build on it. Because
Exactly.
if you're going to spread yourself from writing resumes for people to discrimination, nothing's going to get done. So I think you should,
Understand.
I think you might want to pick the 2 most important things that you feel you want to work
I
on.
think the chair has
And
provided
do
that
that.
for
Yeah.
us.
I think that would be a good idea too, and I would really welcome this, our I guess here on this table, at least our minority youth people here to join us on this. But I would be very happy to work with you on this too. But I agree with what the vice chair has just said, is that limiting some of the things and really pacing it out. So I think that in principle, what we're talking about here is looking at the creation of a minority affairs council and then directing a committee of this group to develop that, if that's what I'm hearing. Dorothy, you have you look at me like you have something to say.
I'm
Is that a
listening.
motion from you?
No, that's a motion that we have already
Okay.
from, basically from,
What's your question,
from Commissioner White that you seconded. I'm kind of trying to define it a little bit, I
believe there's
think. I
another
hope that,
comment.
if what I said, I hope was a friendly amendment, if it was an amendment
I don't
at
think
all.
there's- I don't think their questions were quite
I just-
answered.
I just had a comment. You're saying how minorities want to be more integrated with the society, but then again, they single themselves out by making those groups, like the Asian groups, and
I understand
like,
that.
so it's kind of like contradicting
But-
themselves.
But I
But
think-
that's where we come in. I want to be that bridge, or we want to be that bridge that comes in and say, let's get together, let's work more cohesively as a full-body unit, not just, segment ourselves off. I wish none of this existed. I really mean this. Personally speaking, I have a lot of rapport interaction with many, many different organizations, many different people from every walk of life, business-wise. As a person, I'm fine. But I can't just blind myself or keep myself closed off and not realize that there are other people that need a little nudge, need a little push, need a little effort, and to correct some of these very things that you're mentioning.
Now, is this proposal based on just jobs for minorities?
No,
No?
no, no.
Okay, because,
Community involvement, it would be wonderful within the education system to have representation from everyone. And based on that, look at things, because this really affects all of you. You could be in the position of hiring your class student that's getting ready to graduate. That's happened. And you want to be in some sort of position, not only to know that person as having gone through the educational system with them, but to be able to be supportive and to recognize that person's employment, search, or places maybe where you can spearhead them to be a viable product to the community. That's where everything falls apart. It's the old thing, I'll see you when we get out and talk to you and all of this, and come on, reality check. So a lot of things need to happen at this level. I will be really desiring to work more. I'm very glad to see you, that you're here this evening, because there will be a lot of work moved in your efforts.
May I just remind the commission that we do have a time limitation that we're going to be coming up to very shortly, so I'd like to move the conversation along, especially if there are other comments. I know Commissioner Janis would like to say something, I believe.
Yes, I'd like to point out something. We're talking about consultation and human relations aspects. We're talking about a very sensitive area. Do we have experts to mold a minority into the right direction? Could we make mistakes? How are we going to back up our recommendations and suggestions to these younger people? Take that in consideration. One other item is, before we go any further with this, we should discuss it with the city attorney and see what aspects are, and ramifications are involved.
Okay,
Can be a touchy subject.
yeah.
Very.
We have a motion on the
We have a
table
motion
to-
on the-
and,
on the-
the motion is to endorse in principle the formation of a council, where is the term? Minority Affairs Council?
And would you,
Call for the question.
and would you accept as a friendly amendment from Commissioner Janis that this be referred immediately to the city attorney for review?
Well, it's not my amendment, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's basically,
And
is that?
It's not my motion.
No, is that acceptable,
Yes,
Commissioner
it is.
Boyd?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it should go to him first before we vote on this.
Well, it really,
Not the,
that,
not just the
that,
formation.
that what is being asked for is that, that the opportunity to go forward with this idea, is it not?
That we are more endorsing the concept at this point.
Exactly.
This is just-
Which is
we're
not
setting an
saying, let's
idea.
Which
do
is
it,
not-
but we're
Yeah.
endorsing the concept for further
Yeah,
study.
if
we
we,
do this?
if we endorse the concept to go forward at this time, then we have something to go to the city attorney with to show them.
Exactly.
Is that make it clearer?
Oh, it's
As
clear.
far as clear as mud right
It's as-
now, as far as.
It's clear,
the-
it's just that I'm kind of having a little problem with it right now, but we can vote.
Argumentative
Okay.
subject.
You're
So
having
what
a
are we
problem
voting
with
for
it.
now?
Okay.
They're
we-
having a problem with it, and I guess maybe I'm kind of with the students over there.
Well, if we're having a problem with this and it's not clear to everyone, perhaps we could
Table it.
table this and continue the discussion at our October 10th meeting, if that would be all right, and give people more time to consider this. And we can talk with the city attorney
In the
about
meantime.
this in the meantime,
Yes.
if that would be the direction of this commission. Okay.
If this is proper, I would
Make a motion.
recommend dispensing with the motion and proceed with tabling it.
Okay. All those in, I guess.
I would second that,
Okay.
Second, tabling the motion.
right.
Okay.
Second the
To
motion to
withdraw.
table.
Commissioner Boyd, are you okay with that, to go forward at this time with further discussion at our next meeting?
That's fine.
Okay? Before we adjourn, I would like to ask to make sure,
Did
To
you have
vote.
that motion?
Oh.
We didn't
To
vote.
vote.
We didn't vote.
oh, I'm sorry, okay. All those in favor of tabling until next meeting on October the 10th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we again 8-0, I believe, so.
Isn't that wonderful?
And
Wonderful
so you'll
meeting.
be speaking at Desert Highland as an individual.
As an individual,
Okay.
that is correct.
Thank you.
Before we do adjourn, though, for our October 10th meeting, please, if you have other agenda items, please get them to me or to the vice chair or to Commissioner Iguano, our rotating member on the executive committee, so we can form the agenda. Commissioner Janis.
Yes, I just want to make the announcement that it doesn't appear like I'll be here on October 22nd because I'll be participating in the California Senior Legislature on that week.
Okay, just, I believe that our forum is on the 17th, or is on the
24th.
It's on the 24th. Our forum for the One Book, One Palm Springs is the 24th of October.
Is that a Thursday?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I may be able to make that.
Okay?
And
Okay.
then the next meeting, maybe they don't know. when.
Next meeting is just an hour, is that correct?
Our next meeting will probably be more or less just an hour because of the council cabinet meeting, unless you all want to continue, at which time I'd turn the meeting over to the vice chair, and you could continue for the full 2 hours, but it would not be televised. Is there,
If you want to announce when the next.
oh, the executive committee meeting is, of course, Tuesday, October the 1st, 2 p.m. in the West Wing Conference Room in City Hall. You're all invited to attend if you'd like to. But again, if you have any input for the next meeting, please give it to us. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Zelnus, seconded by Commissioner Bowens. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate all.